people pleasing isn't always what people think, like just giving people what they want or doing whatever, but like the inability to say no, showing up for everything, inconvenience, and it's like finding out like and figuring out who is worthy of that inconvenience.
Oh man, what another wonderful conversation. I'm listening in, I'm like, I'm over here laughing with y'all, you know what I mean? I think one of the things I took away from it was like being able to say no. That was something for me. I'm a yes man. I'd be like, I try, cause I like to help people, right? So I like to do as much as I can for other people, and I feel like that's an important part. That's part of who I am. So for me, it's like telling people no is like, unless it's something where I just does not align with me at all.
Right.
I'm just gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna try to see what I can do. You know what I mean? So I appreciate y'all for bringing that up because I'm like, you know what? I like what y'all talking about. You know what I mean? Next wine we have here is a Pinot Noir, one of my favorites. Pinot Noir, this one is from Willamette Valley in Oregon. So now we went Spain, France, we're back in the States, okay? And what's really great about Oregon Pinots is that Oregon has such a cool climate. And so Pinot Noirs are thin-skinned grapes, and so you don't really want them to be in hot areas because it's gonna dry them up and that kind of stuff, right? And so I love Pinot Noirs. They're soft, they're vibrant, a lot of times very fruity. And so we're gonna go ahead and take a nose test, a smell test here. And
Oh, this is dry. This is dry.
Berries.
It's gonna be dry. Ain't it?
Yeah.
It's gonna be dry.
So one thing that we
I'm a
usually
sweet
do,
wine
and I think somebody had asked earlier about the swirling the glass. A lot of times you see that with red wine, and that's specific because red wine kind of needs to be opened up a little bit, right? It needs to be opened up so you can really get the aroma. So you might smell it one time, then you'll swirl it, let it air out a little bit. You smell it again. I'm getting these tart cherries. Some like raspberry-ish. Yeah, but yeah, very heavy berry, and
It's giving lit.
it also kind of it's also.
Now you drink the whole bottle of this. Cheers to a girls' weekend. Literally.
The glass itself.
Yeah, and so
glass.
it really is
no,
a nice glass, and
seriously,
so Pinot Noirs often you're gonna have Pinot Noirs with wider bases because you really want when you're aerating
Oh,
it.
that's why they put it in big glasses.
Yeah, you want with red wines in general, but specifically with Pinot Noirs, they're aromatic, they're juicy, they're fun, they're vibrant, and so you really want them to kind of open up more. And so you're gonna put them in this with this base here, so that way it gets more air into the wine, and then the aroma.
That really makes sense.
Right, and you also see older wines. You'll pour them into glasses with bigger bases because you also want them to open up. Because the older they are, the aromas kind of become more dormant and stuff like that. You want them to kind of open and be like, get everything that the person was growing, right? So let's go ahead and taste it. I don't know if anybody has yet.
Ain't drinking yet. It's strong.
I drank it before you started talking. This is how I know. Look at all this tart stuff over here.
It's a tart. It's not as tart, yeah.
I like it though.
But it's juicy. It's fruit.
No, I like it though. It's very
It's fruit forward, right? A lot of times what I say with reds is that you should try to taste it once, let it simmer, let it settle, and taste it again. See what other kind of notes that you get on the second taste. Oh, crostini is a crostini with goat cheese and sun-dried tomatoes. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I really love Pinots. I think that they pair very well with a lot of different things. They're light, and I think that they're much more, for me, enjoyable as an everyday wine. Something you can take, long day at work. Hey, let me open up this bottle and sip on this, right? So
you're trying to turn this into day drinkers.
No, it's
day drinker, night drinker.
You did say you like a brunch.
okay.
Okay.
You're right.
All right now. Okay.
It's strong. It's stronger.
Yes, they are.
Good. So we're gonna this was just a tasting. We're just gonna get it right back to the same level, so not too much, just for you guys, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Said not too much,
Okay, so let's go into vulnerability, being strong. Okay, as Black women, when do you give yourself permission to be vulnerable? You know, to kind of let your guard down, to kind of create, like, even if you feel you're in a safe space or not, when is it an appropriate time to say, okay, let me rest, let me be vulnerable, let me take my hat off, let me sit back? When do, especially as Black women?
I say every day.
I was gonna say same.
I think it's important.
Do I have or not?
Yeah, I think it's every day. I think it's in your routine. I think it's how you show up for yourself first, because you set the example of how you want people to show up for you. Just like your boundaries, like you said earlier, your boundaries are for you. They are for you, but they're also, you're setting the example again for those people to
Around
set
you.
set those boundaries. How is she treating herself? So I think that taking the time to sit there and be honest with yourself, with the honesty, being honest with yourself of, okay, it is okay for me to be vulnerable, let's say in my nighttime routine, so I can regroup for the next day.
Right.
So stuff like that, bless you.
God bless you.
So I think that's important, but just again, being honest with yourself, looking at your routine, seeing when you feel as though is the most appropriate time, because I don't really think it's like a non-appropriate time to be honest with yourself or like vulnerable. I think you should be able to feel vulnerable. So
is that when you
every
say
day.
you'll give yourself permission to rest, permission to be vulnerable, permission to show up?
Yeah. If I'm preaching that to people and my clients every day,
Set the example.
I mean, they may not see it personally, like from me, but it's gonna show up in the way that I speak to them.
Yes.
Because I'm building my confidence, I'm building my self-validation, I'm building my self-awareness, I'm building the respect for myself, and then I'm also doing that through discipline. So all of that, and then I'm not comparing myself to anybody, because I'm also different when it comes to like my rules, what I do, and how I like just show up. Yeah, how I just show up. So yeah, I think you set the tone for everything. Like, to be honest, my clients come in and they say, this person did this to me and this is the reason why I do this, that, and the third. Okay, so how are we going to work through that? You know, so what can we do? We can work on your self-validation, your self-awareness. We build yourself up first, and then look at that situation again and see how you're going to respond to it now instead of react to it. So.
That's good. I think it's like a learning curve, honestly, if I'm being honest, you know, like for me, because I think that I'm very good at allowing like others and holding space for others. I don't know why, like I just don't really tire, especially the people that are close to me, you know. But I think for myself, like growing up as an only child, and you know, everybody, and I mean every cousin, parent, step-parent, everybody had siblings. I have none. So, you know, like growing up in that space, and even my friends all being, you know, for the most part, all having siblings or different things too. And I know people's relationships, as we all know, are not always the best, and maybe they are. But like for me, it's kind of like, ooh, like I don't really want to burden somebody else with like what I am going through. So like I might put on like a TV show or something that allows me to like release. And it's not to say that I don't have like, and I feel like I have a wide net of community of a million people that I can talk to, but like something that I have to actively work on is like going before it gets to like the rock bottom. And then also not being afraid to like hit that, because it's like when you've hit that part of vulnerability, it's like you never want to go back there, right? But then it's like, girl, you have all the tools. You've worked through this. You've overcome so much already. So it's like you're not gonna go back there. But even though the fear is understandable, like you have to lean into it, because it's also not good to keep internalizing. But it's like when it's habitual from your young age, it's kind of like, ooh, how do you like get
You
out of
unlearn that.
Right? How do you unlearn that? So it's like a work in progress.
I mean, in order to unlearn it, I feel like you just start with your safe people. You know what I mean? Like first, even if it's just safety with yourself, and then you go into maybe it's my sister, my mom, whomever. Like you start with your safe people, and you just kind of build out there. It's kind of what I tell my clients. Of I understand we want to get to what we do of trying to give ourselves that permission every day, but if we can't, it is scary. It's hey, who can I show up in my most authentic self with, or be my most vulnerable self? I don't feel judged. I feel like I can just let it go. those are the people that I tell my clients to deem as their safe people and build out. And like, what are the criteria of what deems someone your safe person per se? Is kind of what I tell my
What
clients.
does it feel like to be on all the time?
Whew.
When it comes to code switching, hyper independent, what does that even feel like being on all the time? When
Exhaustion.
I gotta turn switch off.
Exhaustion.
See, honestly, I don't do a lot of code switching. And I think that's what makes me as successful with my clients as I am. I think they feel very comfortable with me because they know that they're getting a real person, you know, from the way that I dress, from the way that I talk, from the way that I bring personal elements of myself into the sessions with them. You know, I think that code switching, even though a lot of people have to do it in a lot of fields, I think that, at least in my experience as a therapist, I feel lucky that I don't have to do a lot of that because I get a lot of my success as a therapist from building authentic relationships. So I don't feel like the need to do a lot of that, and I think that showing up as close to who you actually are is really I don't hate to say better way to go, but the better way to go, so that you don't feel so much burnout from, oh my God, I wore this fake mask all day of like smiling in people's faces. You know, when my clients ask me how I'm doing, I'll be the first one to say, it's been a long day, girl, but here we are in session. I'm here for you in this time, you know what I mean? So just being as close to who I actually am as possible so that I don't deal with like a lot of the burnout from faking it, you know?
Yeah. I love that. 'Cause that's real. Like being on all the time is exhausting.
Oh, so
and
exhausting.
even I think I know a lot of times we were like speaking to people that are looking for therapeutic services and things like that. But even speaking to clinicians, it's like I feel like that's the reason why a lot of clinicians are moving to teletherapy. I feel like that idea of I can be on from here up.
Hello.
You don't know when I
Every
have
day.
a blanket on, I have a fidget toy, my cat's over there. Like you don't
Right,
know that.
in your pajama pants.
Right,
Exactly,
okay.
and for this reason.
Exactly. I feel like
I love that. Anyone else?
I think being on is also generational, and that's something important to
What do
highlight.
you mean by that? Break
So
that
it's not
down.
necessarily like always
Let's talk
an
about it.
individual choice. A lot of being on has to do with, you know, generational trauma, whether that's historical, that's racial, environmental, all the categories, honestly. And it's also rooted in capitalism. So you can't, if you want to live, you can't be off.
Right.
Literally,
Especially
you're
today.
punished
That's
to take
fair.
off of work. They only give you a few
Especially
hours
in
to
this
rest.
field.
Like you have to earn 80 to get 4. You see how it works? Like that
Right.
literally reinforces the concept of
Yes.
if you're off, you don't get to rest.
Yeah.
If you're off, you don't get to have an off day. You don't get to take leave. Or if you take leave, it has to be sick. You have to be sick to
You
be
have to be
off.
sick.
Right.
You get more sick leave than you do personal.
And
See
real
that?
sick.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that you need to go to the dentist. It doesn't matter that you need to stay home and catch up on Housewives. It doesn't matter
Right.
that you need to commute to South Carolina for a funeral for 4 days.
Or that you
Or
need
that
to
You
your
get
child
nothing.
is
It
out of
doesn't matter. You get
school
3
or-
bereavement days. It doesn't
Right.
matter if your husband, it's your wife.
They
If
don't
you
have
even
that
have a
daughter.
baby, you only get 6 weeks and half of it's paid. You know, like, so they don't really care about your rest. They want you to be on. They want you to do. And if you don't do, you don't have anywhere to live.
Right.
You don't have any food.
Do food.
You don't have anyone to watch your kids. So it's like you can't, it's a privilege to be off. You
Right.
know? It's really a
Yes.
privilege to be off and to be able to have a life that allows you to customize being off.
Yeah.
So I think that's the important thing to highlight is that it's a blessing to be able to be in a space where you can do that, but it's not reality for
It's
a lot
for a
of
lot of
people.
people.
Right.
And it'll never be reality for a
Yeah.
lot of people, and especially the climate that we live in, with services being cut left and right, things not being, social services not being as, you know, a thing as it used to be, or like, even though people need it more than ever. So it's like, you have to work 5 jobs. You have to have 6 side hustles. You have to live with someone you don't like because they pay half your bills. Or
Right.
you can't get out that marriage because your husband is on Social Security X, Y, and Z, and it takes care of your health benefits, or you're on his health insurance and his job. Like, there's
So why do
many
you
other
think
things
it's
that
so
contribute
much
to that.
pressure when it comes to family, community, relationships? Why do you think it's so much pressure for us to always be on for our families and communities instead of just taking a step back when we need to?
Because who else was
Because
gonna do
what
it?
she just
Historically,
described.
I was
who
gonna
else
say, I
did
think
it?
it's like
Women
literally
always
what
did
she
it.
just said. It's
Yeah,
like
literally.
generationally like ingrained.
Like, you
know,
have
like
to.
I think that I talk about that a lot, like with my mom. You know, like. And I asked her for permission before I talked about this today. It's like, you know, like
we love consent.
until my mom got died, right? You know, I'm like, put your business online, girl. But like,
Right.
right?
What is the therapy hat on?
But you know, it's like until she got diagnosed with cancer. She's in remission now, thank the
Thank
Lord,
God.
praise the Lord.
That is good.
She just didn't sit down. Like I can't remember a time in my childhood she never missed a big moment, but that BlackBerry, that phone, that email, it's always going to be going. And you know, I get it though, and I empathize with a lot because it's like from generation to generation. If you don't work hard, if you don't keep going, if you miss a day, you know, people that look like us, you don't have nothing, you're going to be the first one on the chopping block. You're all these different things. But you know, to shift it around, it's kind of like now, you know, if that is an environment that you're in, is that even an environment you want to be in? Correct. That you can't take a break? It's like I would have to tell her, you know, even because, you know, she was going to work till she couldn't work no more. And it's like, what are they going to do if you were gone? You know, even in terms of family, I have to say, like, I would, you know, I wouldn't even know how to function if you were gone. But like, what would you've taught me well enough that like we all, whoever that is dependent upon you, whether it's a job, personally, whatever, you have to learn how to function independently, because that's too much weight for you as an individual to carry. And you know how beautiful it is, like as her daughter, to watch her like be someone who works so hard their whole life, and then to be able to take her on a vacation, and it's like, wow, this is the first time I ever was on vacation and didn't check my emails. And it's like such a small accomplishment to others, but it's like, that's monumental. Because we're really doing it. And it's like, to FaceTime you, you know, only child again, you know, like every morning, she's on the West Coast, so it's like between 10 and 11, I know we on the phone. So it's like, to get a FaceTime call, and it's like, girl, it's a Monday, you in the bed? You okay?
You
And
okay?
it's like, oh, I just took off today.
Slow morning, right.
Like, you know, right. Like, okay, like we love that. Like,
that's
so
a real thing.
to your point, like I just think like, and coming from our great grandmother and just people who we really saw just like really work hard to provide, it's kind of like, wow, like you don't really have people who look like us as the option. And I feel like I tell her, my aunts, like all the time, like I love y'all so much, and I thank you for the work you put in, because I will never work that hard. I want to take a day off. I'm calling out. This PTO,
millennials in here.
right? The PTO is never going to expire.
I'm 26, guys. Thank you. Thank you.
We don't want to work.
We're not working.
No, Gen Z is gonna leave. Like Gen Z is gonna leave.
Right, I will leave.
Let me not feel bad.
Right.
We learned that from y'all.
Appreciate what I bring to the table.
I will be gone so quick.
The door's not going to hit us on the way out.
No,
it's not.
I'm already in my car.
Okay.
Losing PTO, who's losing it?
No.
Girl, what?
So how do you guys kind of decompress when it comes to that racial gray line, if you will, when it comes to work, right? When it comes to work as Black women, when it comes to working, when do you kind of take that step back, or when do you speak up and advocate for yourself in those rooms, right? Because we're talking about leaving a job, or we're talking about not staying somewhere where we don't feel valued, or we're talking about, you know, making a transition, or we may have to pivot sometimes, right? So what does that look like, and how does that define your success? Does that define your career?
My hot take.
Period.
So I don't burn a bridge, but I'm gonna use people's codes, their handbooks, and I'm gonna follow it to a T, because this is what you provided me. If you're not following it, I have to go, and I'm gonna tell you why you're not doing accordingly, and we're going to get whatever compensation I'm deserved, and then I'm gonna kindly exit. And it's not necessarily in a way of I'm flipping over tables, I'm doing anything to burn it. Yeah, no, I'm not burning a bridge.
I would exit.
I'm just gonna, hey, you know, per the guidelines that were provided to me, I'm using other people's language that was already given, so you can't say or discredit my experience, because this is the experience that you guaranteed me or promised me when I signed my paperwork.
So have you ever experienced racial trauma? Anybody at the table experience that? Okay.
Every day.
Share that.
I mean, to be honest, as therapists, we know documentation is very important. So me personally, I document everything from beginning to end when it comes to my schooling, when it comes to all the contracts that I have, all, you know, any type of practice that I work for, or whatever the case may be. Everything is documented, not because I'm like, you know, anticipating like something going wrong, but more so I know that it's important that this is in place regardless of what's going on. But also, you know, I've experienced racism and setbacks in my doctoral program. So, and I was supposed to graduate this year. I'm 2 years behind because of it.
Oh my
but
God.
That's also because I've advocated for myself, and every time, and they don't like that when people speak up. As soon as I call a meeting, they're thinking we're not. The first thing this lady has said was, "We're not here to argue."
Oh, who said
Why did you think I was going
Because
to
I'm a black woman.
Correct. So with that being said,
Because I'm a black woman and they automatically think we so aggressive.
Exactly. So with that being said, I confront it, and not in an aggressive way or anything like that. I'm very respectful, but I will call you out when you are disrespectful or you're not at the standard that you thought you set for me. So with that being said, I just make sure that they know, because I think self-awareness is very important. So especially when it comes to communication, because if you are self-aware, you communicate differently. Self-awareness or whatever the case may be, I'm going to bring it up to you, and I'm going to share how it made me feel and how you would, and I'm going to ask you how you would feel if I were to say that too. And not in a back and forth tone or anything like that, but let's reflect on what you just said to me. You know, if we are really going to have a conversation, let's have a conversation that's very full and open. And you share with me how you would respond to that and how you would respond, because it's just like, did you hear the microaggression?
Right, and probably they didn't, which is the problem.
Right.
It's definitely on the table.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm Kayla Evelyn, aka Black Guy in Wine, and thank you for watching this segment of the Black Tasting Room, where wine, conversation, and culture collide. I'd like to welcome you to subscribe and join us for another tasting as we work to bring people together one pour at a time. If you'd like to support or donate or even collaborate, please feel free to use the link to reach out to us directly. And can't wait to invite you to our next tasting event. Cheers.